In 1968, a scientist built a perfect world. Unlimited food, unlimited water, no predators, no disease. A paradise with only one rule: you could never leave. Its inhabitants had everything a living thing could ever want. And within a few years, every single one of them was dead. Not from hunger, not from sickness, from something far stranger. This is the story of Universe 25, the perfect world that destroyed itself. The scientist's name was John B. Calhoun. He worked at the National Institute of Mental Health in Maryland, and he was obsessed with a single question: what happens to a society when it runs out of space? Not food, not resources, just space. To find out, he didn't study humans, he studied mice. Because mice, in many ways, behave a lot like we do. Calhoun himself once wrote, "I shall largely speak of mice, but my thoughts are on man." So in July of 1968, Calhoun built his masterpiece. A metal enclosure 9 feet square with walls too tall to climb. Officially, it was called a mortality-inhibiting environment for mice. Everyone else just called it what it was: mouse heaven. It had 256 separate apartments connected by mesh tunnels, climate-controlled, cleaned regularly, screened for disease. Endless food, endless water, endless nesting material. It was designed to comfortably hold nearly 4,000 mice. There were no enemies here, no struggle, no danger of any kind. It was, by every measure, a paradise. Into this paradise, Calhoun placed just 8 mice, 4 pairs. At first, paradise worked exactly as you'd expect. The mice explored, they claimed territory, they built nests, and they bred fast. With everything provided and nothing to fear, the population exploded. It doubled roughly every 55 days. 8 became 16, 16 became dozens, dozens became hundreds. This was the golden age of Universe 25, a booming society in an endless land of plenty. What could possibly go wrong? Then, around day 315, the growth began to slow, and strange things started to happen. The problem wasn't space. There was still plenty of room. The problem was that paradise had created too many winners. In a normal world, young mice grow up and move on to claim their own space. But in a sealed paradise, there was nowhere new to go. The older mice had already taken every good spot, and they wouldn't leave. So a generation of young mice grew up with no role, no territory, no purpose. And that's when the society began to break apart. The displaced males, with nothing to fight for, stopped fighting altogether. They gathered in the center of the pen, listless and withdrawn. They would only emerge to eat and drink while others slept. Calhoun called these the dropouts. Other males became violent, attacking without reason or warning. Even attacking the young, which almost never happens in nature. And the females began to change too. Mothers, overwhelmed and unprotected, started abandoning their young. Infant mortality in some areas climbed past 90%. The most basic instinct of all, caring for the next generation, was failing. But the strangest mice of all appeared in the final generation. A group that withdrew from society completely. They never fought, they never courted, they never mated. They did only three things: eat, sleep, and groom themselves. Because they groomed so constantly, their coats were flawless. Calhoun gave them an unsettling name: the Beautiful Ones. They were physically perfect and completely empty. They had no interest in others, no drive, no purpose at all. They had everything and had become incapable of doing anything with it. By day 560, the population peaked at around 2,200 mice. And then it began to fall, and it never stopped. With the Beautiful Ones unwilling to mate, almost no new mice were born. By around day 600, the last surviving pup was born. After that, nothing. No new births. Ever. The old mice lingered for a while, grooming and hiding. But the society was already, functionally, dead. Even when Calhoun's team gave some mice a fresh start in a new space, they had forgotten how to be mice. They never recovered. By 1973, less than 5 years after it began, the population of Universe 25 had crashed from 200 to 0. Mouse heaven had gone completely extinct. Calhoun believed he had discovered something terrifying. He called it a behavioral sink. The idea that once a society's roles collapse, it can spiral past a point of no return. And he wasn't quiet about what he thought it meant for us. The experiment became a global sensation, a dark warning about crowded cities and modern life. But here's the part most people leave out. Many scientists today push back on Calhoun's conclusions. Mice are not humans, and the problem may not have been crowding at all. Some argue the real cause was social. Too few roles, too much conflict over status. In other words, the cage didn't kill them. The loss of meaning did. Whether or not it applies to us is still fiercely debated. But the haunting question Calhoun left behind has never quite gone away. What happens to a species that gets everything it ever wanted? When all the struggle is removed, when every need is met, do we thrive, or do we slowly forget who we are? Calhoun saw the answer play out in miniature on a laboratory floor. And whether it was a warning or just a story about mice is something we may not want to find out the hard way. If stories like this make you see the world a little differently, that's exactly why this channel exists. Subscribe to Fiuzaverse. There's a lot more where this came